I just finished reading Eye of the World for the very first time, and edge of my seat. Edge of my seat. Who would like to receive my therapy bill? Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Alexis Brianna, and I am so glad that you're here. We're about to finish Eye of the World, which is mind-blowing to me because it's been a whole journey. It's been a journey, but it's been a fun one. So I'm going to get kicked off with reading chapter 42 now, and then I think I'll be able to get at least 2 chapters in. I'm going to color first and then probably transition over to immersively reading once I finish coloring and stuff like that. But I wanted to get this kicked off because I'm so excited to see where this book goes, because the last couple of chapters were definitely different than the show. So I don't know how it's about to end or where it's going to end, but really excited to find out. If you haven't caught up in all of my Wheel of Time vlogs, I'll definitely link those down below. And I keep the first section of the reading vlog spoiler free. That way, if you're reading along with me or you haven't made it to this point, or maybe you just don't like spoiler filled videos when it comes to books, that you don't have to worry about any spoilers along the way, or even if you're watching the TV show. So at the end, I will be sure to give a spoiler alert or some type of spoiler warning. That way you can click off the video for all of my spoiler filled thoughts and deep dives and all of that we'll keep at the end. I think that's it. So let's get to coloring, reading some books, maybe grab something to drink while we read along. All right, let's get to reading. Those 2 chapters, a lot has changed. A lot has changed, a lot has progressed, and you feel the weight of every single decision. Every single decision. You're starting to feel the greater weight that decisions are now holding. And my goodness, today there was more revealed in those chapters than I was expecting, because things were calm. And I was like, okay, we'll probably get like a few calm chapters and then things will pick back up. No, Mr. Jordan said, no, I'm not going to let you get comfortable in this hopefulness. I need to bring the tension, wonder, despair, anxiety. I got to bring that back pretty quickly. So, yeah, I have an idea of where it's going to end, but it's very interesting without giving anything away. The direction things are going, different from the TV show. It's similar but different. Similar but different. But the tension. Oh my goodness, the tension. Okay, yeah, okay. I'm gonna end it here before I start giving away spoilers. Gonna end it here before I give away spoilers. All right, I'll see you on the next reading session. those 2 chapters. Those 2 chapters. Just the way that last chapter ended. Oh my gosh. It was with some of my favorite characters. Not gonna give any spoilers away, but baby, the tit for tat, the back and forth, and just the way that they expressed themselves, like, while maintaining, just like, without outright saying it, but still maintaining like their character, like who they are. Like, it embodied like who they are. Like, it just it was so good. I was just like, oh, my heart. And just to be able to have such a moment of just purity in the middle of chaos, in the middle of tension. Like, we're smack dab in the middle of what's growing to be the big climax. Like, we're not there yet. Like, we're slowly building to that point. But man, just those last pages, I think it was like the last like page and a half. Hold on. Well, no, yeah, the last page and a half. Yeah, the last page and a half. That was good. So, okay. Collecting my thoughts. All right, where we're at in the plot, we haven't made it to the climax yet. We're like still building there, but the tension is there. I feel like the tension has just always been underlying throughout the whole book, but it's really there now. It's evident. We've learned a whole lot. There was a whole sequence that was very different than the show. Won't get into it. We'll get into it later. But it was very different. And I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that. Nice surprise. But yeah, the last couple of chapters have just been a lot of storytelling, world building, while again moving the plot forward in action in terms of just learning a lot about the background of certain characters, the history of certain cities. Don't want to give things away. Yeah. So there's just changing dynamics. People are learning more. Things are being revealed. And again, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there before I start giving stuff away. So I will see you on the next reading session. Things escalated quickly, and I was caught unawares. What was I thinking driving and reading this? What just happened? I was not prepared. I went in with my TV brain thinking, okay, I have like 1 to 2 chapters before things like really pick up and get into the meat of the climax. Like, we're still like, we're in the climax, but we're not like at the climax. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, I'll just run some errands and listen to the book. No, I should not have done that. I was stressed. Like, my heart was beating, and I'm like, I was not ready. I was not ready. My mind is, okay, focus, thoughts. No spoilers, Alexis. Okay. We are introduced to a lot of different characters that were not introduced yet in the show. There's a lot of scenes that were not in the show. We got a whole lot of world building, a whole lot of foundation building for the rest of the series. I mean, so much to the point where I had to keep like going back a couple of seconds because I was like, wait, what? That's history I don't remember getting at this point. Or in some of it, I'm like, did we even get some of this history at all in the 3 seasons of the show? Like, I don't think so. I don't think so. This rewatch that I'm going to have of season 1 is going to be very interesting because I'm like, I don't remember a whole lot of this. And especially in season 1, but really in the whole shebang, these first 3 seasons that we got, I don't remember some of these things. Okay, what else? I mean, wow, just the writing is so intense in this section, and it gets your heart pumping. It's a little bit, I won't say horror, but like horror light. It's like not horror like where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared, cover your eyes, but it's like horror light. You know what I mean? A lot of action. Oh my gosh, so many developments, so many updates. And it's really interesting. You learn more about not just new characters, but existing characters. And it kind of like recontextualizes them in a way where you thought you knew a lot about them, but you learned so much more. Like you're just, yeah, like your preconceived notions of them and their history and why they do certain things that they do is reshaped. It's reshaped in these chapters, and even like in some of the past chapters now, and think about it too. But yeah. Yeah. This was a lot. All right. I gotta go finish my errands. I just had to pull over and park somewhere because I was like, I have to talk. I have to get all of this off my chest because this was a lot. So I actually have to go to where my errand actually is. But right, yeah, I'm gonna stop here. I can't keep reading or listening to this. I want to know what happens next because the cliffhanger that chapter just left off on. But yeah, I can't keep reading. So I'm gonna read this in the comfort of my home probably tonight or maybe tomorrow. We'll see what time has in store for me in terms of capacity. But yeah, this was some good chapters. This was some good writing. Really good writing. But my heart can't take it right now. So I'm gonna go ahead to do the rest of my errands, and I will see you on the next reading session. I have many thoughts, but every time I have tried to share them, I keep giving spoilers away. So I'ma just not talk. I'm not gonna talk about this chapter. I'm not. So yeah. I will see you on the next reading session. I'm confused. I did not think that that was how book one was going to end. Yeah, so there won't be any breaks in between books. Or at least book one and book two. I'm ordering book two tonight. Yeah, I can't believe that's how that ended. Okay, collect your thoughts, Alexis. Okay, I can't believe that we finished book one. I am honestly shocked. Like, this was a brick, and it was good. It was a good brick. It was good. It was a good break, but the ending just threw me off. Like, I wasn't expecting it to end at that point in the plot, in the story. So I'm just thrown a bit off. Okay. One thing I will say about that ending is I am very glad that I am reading this series after it is complete. Because if every book ends like that on a cliffhanger except the last one, oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah, I am so glad I'm not reading this while it's being written. My goodness today. My goodness today. Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts? I'm sorry. I'm processing and like shocked and surprised and all of the emotions I'm feeling. I will say I am grateful that like it wasn't as heart pounding, because that's why I was coloring, because I was like, I don't know where this is about to take me in these last two chapters. So let me color to just like settle myself in case it gets my anxiety like through the roof. I don't need my anxiety that high this late at night. So I am very glad I did that, and I'm glad that it ended on a very settled but very open-ended note. Like, you know that there's more coming. And it wasn't a bad ending. Like, I don't want my reaction to the ending to make you feel like it was a bad ending. I'm just, as someone who watched the show first, I'm just very surprised by how much of the ending of season 1 that they changed from book 1. So now I'm like, yeah, I'm very interested to see where book 2 picks up and like what happens in terms of the plot. I'm just, yeah. Oh, so many thoughts. Okay, let me process my thoughts and I will be back with my spoiler-filled thoughts. Sorry, I'll be back. Okay, I have many of thoughts, but I have mostly processed them. I have mostly processed them about the end of this book. The end of this book, okay, before I get into those thoughts, focus, Alexis, before I get into those thoughts, if you have not finished the book, or if you have not finished season 1 of the show, and you do not like spoilers, I need you to go ahead and click off. I need you to click off and come back or scroll past the last 60 seconds of this video because we're about to get into spoilers and I do not want to ruin the ending of this book or the show for you, especially if you're someone who does not like the endings ruined, okay? So I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds. All right? Are we good? Okay. So I have my notes here because, again, I have many thoughts. Some of them processed, some of them not processed. But I've written down what I can think of, what I can remember from the show. So again, for those who don't know, I have not watched the show since it first came out, or season 1 of the show since it first came out. I don't know, like this would be a couple of years ago at this point. I can't remember what the date is, but I have not watched the show since then. So some of my memories may be a little fuzzy around the show. Give me some grace. I don't mind some gentle correction in the comments section. I always love dialoguing with you, but just know I have not watched the show in a really long time. I'm gonna watch it later now that I finished the book, but let's get into my thoughts. All right, first up we have the eye of the world itself. The eye of the world and what it actually is in the book versus the show is very different. So I'd say the only similarities is like it's within the blight, and that's about the only similarity that I'm trying to think. Is there any other crossover? Nope, not a bit of crossover. So in the show, the blight is basically, or no, the eye of the world is essentially this place where they're going because it is the prison of the Dark One, or at least that's what they're assuming. It's the prison of the Dark One. However, in the book, it is a place of just pure power, if you will. So it has pure Seidon, which is the male, I believe, form of the one power. I believe, yes. Pretty sure it's the male form of the one power. And then it also has a bunch of powerful artifacts. So it has the dragon banner of Luce Theron. It has the Horn of Valir and something else. It's like and a broken seal. Like those are the things that it has. At least that's what's been revealed to us within the book at this point. And it's also guarded by a green man who does not show up one bit in the show. That man does not show up in the show. So just the fundamental differences of the Eye of the World changes what the mission is for the group. And what I will say is in the book, I would say the mission is more of a defensive, right? They're going to defend the power that's within it, and they want to protect it against the blight and the darkness that is encroaching upon it and the Dark One. However, in the show, it's more of a mission of we're going to go on the offensive. The Dark One is weak. This is where his prison is. We can go defeat him. We can knock him out with a 1-2 punch. And I really think that a couple of reasons. I think that they changed the Eye of the World for a few reasons. I think one of them is there is so much lore, world building, and yeah, of course, action that happens in the Eye of the World climax within the Eye of the World in the book. And I think going into explaining what the Green Man is, explaining what the Forsaken is, put a pin in that later, okay? But explaining what all of that is going to take more than 2 episodes. And I believe the climax was 2 episodes in the show. I believe it was two episodes, but explaining all of that is that's a lot. That's a tall order. So essentially the book is building towards an ellipses of like, this is just one battle within a whole host of battles that's going to end with the final battle. I forget what they call the final battle, or do they call it the final battle? I don't know. Anyways, but essentially the show is like an ellipses, like a prologue, if you will, to a bigger fight, versus the show is more of a self-contained, like this is the main event and there's a potential for this to just be like boom, boom, and we're done and we saved the world. It's like a world-saving mission, if you will. But anyways, let's get into the second point. Who actually goes to the eye? Okay. So I know that I have said multiple times that I only know a pinch, a little bit, just a little bit of the story, and I have to go into this story expecting the unexpected because so much has changed in the TV show and they've just cut things, added things, truncated things, accelerated things. But I was still surprised when I saw that everyone actually went to the eye of the world in the book. I was genuinely surprised. And I will say, okay, my initial reaction was shock that everyone went. Then when I thought about it and I sat with it, I was like, okay, I can understand why Loyal went. I can understand why Egwene went. I can understand even why Nynaeve went, just based on just the story, right? Just the storytelling and the things that Moiraine mentioned at Camelin and just some of the things that were mentioned in some of the storytelling. Okay, I get, okay, I can get it, right? After I processed it. Initial reaction, shocked, but after processing, okay, I get it. But Matt, on the other hand, Moiraine literally said herself that the dagger and the darkness within Matt was attracting the dark friends and all of the dark people and the Fades and the Trollocs to them. So I'm like, y'all are trying to go on this stealth mission to the Blight. You didn't want the soldiers of Faldara going with you because you wanted a small party, but you bring the air tag of darkness to y'all to the eye of the world, and then he inadvertently attracts the Forsaken. Put a pin in that. Put a pin in the Forsaken. But he literally attracts the Forsaken to y'all, and y'all are surprised. I mean, I was surprised because it came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere. But I'm just like, y'all let this man go with y'all? It may be okay. Thinking through it. Think through it. Give some grace. Maybe Moiraine was like, you know what? They're a part of the Taviran, because Loyal kept saying they're a part of the Taviran, or Tavern, I think that's how you say it. But they're part of the Taviran, and maybe Matt, she's thinking, is still a candidate to be the Dragon Reborn. I think she, at this point, knows that, what is that man's name? Perrin. I think at this point, she knows that Perrin is not the Dragon Reborn, you know, because of the eye situation. But maybe she also thinks that he is a candidate. Maybe she's just like, I don't know with the certainty that, you know, Rand is for sure the candidate and he is the Dragon Reborn. So I got to bring these other boys because they could be the Dragon Reborn. So we're going to say that. We're going to say that maybe she thought that he was the Dragon Reborn. And so the fact that he was a homing beacon, air tag of darkness, you know, we're going to look past that. And he's coming with us to the eye, you know. But anyways, I'm also going to assume that the reason why the show left Matt at the Waygate, he didn't even make it to Valdar. So I'm going to assume, because Matt, the actor who played Matt in season 1 and season 2 are two different Matts. They're two different people. I'm going to assume that something happened production-wise. And it was also COVID, I think, when they were filming. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. But I think maybe something happened production-wise, and so that's why he was left off. But I think, inadvertent or not, intentional or not, planned or not, Matt missing out on even just going to Tar Valon. Just Tar Valon. Let's not even get into the eye of the world. I do think will have an impact on just his story arc in the show versus the book. So I'll be interested to see how they sprinkle in experiences or just different aspects of his journey so that he's able to still get some of that character development that he gets in the book in the show. So I'll be interested to see how it compares, like, as we go along in the book versus the show. And outside of Matt missing the Waygate and Tar Valon and all of the things that the group experienced in the show, I think that the show deciding to only send Moiraine and Rand to the eye it was an interesting choice, just because, okay, I get, like, production wise and simplicity wise, like, and just building up to a big climax and not wanting it to be multi-layered, that decision. But in terms of storyline and story arc, only sending them does change relationship dynamics. So I think that they were able to build a deeper part of their relationship. And you can definitely tell in season 2 that they have a deeper relationship because of the experience that they experienced there. Versus in the book, the entire group goes to the eye. So they experience the terror all for themselves. They experience the anxiety and the realness and just the intensity of what is actually happening in their world. And yeah, just the evil that is taking place and the encroaching upon it. Like it's visceral, it's real, it's physical, like it's emotional. Like it uses all of their senses in the blight, right? And so they're able to have a full body experience of the eye of the world and what is happening and just the evilness of the dark one. Like, you know, leading up to this, they've all had their own individual experience, but this would be like their first collective experience outside of what happened initially that they are really experienced all together. Now, yeah, I will say they all get different experience because for some parts of it they're conscious, some they aren't conscious, and some, you know, Rand is experiencing his own in this weird, confusing, dreamlike experience with Baalzamon, you know, but you know, they're still all experiencing the eye of the world for themselves. And also, they're all able to discover the artifacts themselves and learn the history, learn the lore, learn more about just the history of things all within that climax within the book. But because that was all missing from the show, they had to figure out, okay, what piece are you going to play? What part are you going to play in the climax? And also, where are we going to hide these artifacts so that they can still be discovered and so that part of the, you know, story can still happen. So this is actually a good point to talk about how the show really engages each of the main characters in the climax in the eye versus how the book really, I don't know, not uses or how the characters play a part in the climax in the book. So I would say in the show, I think all of the characters pretty much played somewhat of an active role in that big ending climax action scene, right? So in the show, we see Loial and Perrin discover the Hoyne of Valyr in the throne room, or at least underneath the throne in Faldara, and their interactions with Padan Fain, who is not necessarily captured, but we'll talk about that later. And we see Loial get hurt, and so we have the drama and the buildup of that and their relationship building in what is going to happen, or a peek into what's going to happen in terms of what they're going to be looking for and hunting for in season 2 within the show. And then we also see Nynaeve and Egwene in the show pair it with the women of Faldara and really use the one power to take out the Trolloc army in Tarwin's Gap. And, you know, unfortunately, it's like a big women empowerment moment, but it's also a tragic moment because the women burn out, and we see Nynaeve almost burn out herself in order to protect Egwene, and we see Egwene heal her, and you know, there's the drama of that and the buildup of that for TV. But I also think it's an acceleration of just what we've seen so far in terms of Egwene and Nynaeve's ability to control and wield the one power in the book. And so it's interesting to see that acceleration, and I get it for TV purposes, but I'll be interested to see how book 2 starts and how their ability to wield the one power progresses in the books versus what happened at the end of season 1 in the show. And so we see that. So we see them play a much more active role in the saving of all of that. Because really in the book, I would say other than helping Rand fight the Trollocs, or not the Trollocs, but the Forsaken in the Eye of the World, and, you know, seeing Moiraine try to go up against, you know, the Forsaken and what happens with that. And, you know, Rand is really the person who is taking on the heavy load of fighting in the book. So, you know, we see him inadvertently save everyone in Tarwin's Gap because he's pulling on the Saidon from, you know, the Eye of the World. And, you know, we see him take out all of those things. And so I would say the show really gives the full cast of main characters more active roles, and you know, if it's not the fighting, it's finding the artifacts. And so I think that's how they were able to kind of like have more general ensemble moments. But I think, you know, you gain certain things by doing that in the show, but you lose a lot of the lore and the storytelling and all of that. And so I think this is also a good point to bring up like the differences in the final big confrontation in the book and in the shows. I will say that the climax and the big like lead up to it in the book is way more mysterious, mythical, fantastical, if you will. It's way more multifaceted versus a show. It's pretty much like, it's straightforward. We have one big bad guy. We're going to this one place where he's imprisoned and we're going to defeat it, right? It's just like, it's a pretty straightforward line that doesn't take much more explanation because you've been leading up to it the entire season, right? So I kind of understand it because it just makes things more digestible, and it's less that you kind of have to explain. And again, they only had like a couple of episodes that they could do the season in, and so they left the two last episodes for this big climax. And yeah, they already packed it full of things, and just, this was one of the things that they just, it would have made it more complex, and I think they probably would have had to add on an episode or two. I don't think that they could have packed all of this into the 2 episodes that they already had tried to pack everything else into. And so with the book, we get just way more in terms of the lore, explanations, and we get 2 parts of the battle. So the first part of the battle, they're fighting the Forsaken, which, okay, let's get into this. When I saw the Forsaken show up on the scene, so it should have been a surprise because, like we talked about, Matt was a homing beacon at AirTag to all of the Dark Friends and the Forsaken to come and find them, right? So it shouldn't have been a surprise, but my flabbers were gassed when they showed up because I was like, wait, they've already like escaped? Like they're starting to escape already? Wait, we're at that point? Like that wasn't in season 1. So I was just... I was taken aback. I was so taken aback when they came on the scene. But anyways, part 1, we see them fighting. We see the Green Man, sacrifice himself. And it was so sad because we're like, we just met you and you're like so lovable. But anyways, like he sacrifices himself in order to, take down one of the first Forsaken. And then we see all of the others battle the other Forsaken and all of the things that are happening with that. And just everything that's happening all at the same time. It was a lot. It was a lot happening. It was so much happening at one time. I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyways, so we see all of that happening. So that's just part 1 in the book of the battle. Then we get into this like weird dreamlike, I won't say it's like a hallucination because it really happened, but it's like this dream-like otherworldly experience that Rand is having in terms of the battle with Baalzamon, and like we see that, and then we see him pulling on Sadon, and I can't remember if it was while they were fighting the Forsaken or while he was fighting Baalzamon, like that he ends up taking out the Trolloc army in Tarwin's Gap, but he inadvertently does that by pulling on, the Sadon, and so we see that happening. So we really see ultimately, again, the other characters playing small pieces in the book, but not like huge pieces or parts in like the big battle. But we really see Rand like taking control of the thing and taking out everybody basically and saving Tarwin's Gap. But just how those endings were handled so differently, the roles that they played, and it just the endings were just so different. The endings were just so different. And I will be very interested to see how book 2 starts, because I'm like the endings were not the same. The endings were not the same. Okay, so the last point that I want to talk about is... Okay, so the last big changes I want to talk about are Moiraine, the Horn of Valyr, and Padan Fain. Okay, without sliding into spoilers into season 2, if you haven't watched season 2 yet, I don't want to spoil it for you. We're only talking about season 1 and book 1. Those are the only things we're talking about. Well, I was very surprised to see that Padan Fain in the show versus the book was not captured. So we have this whole progression in his arc of like, he wasn't captured in the show, but he was captured in the book, and then he ends up stealing the Horn of Valyr in season 1, or at the end of season 1 of the book, which builds up to the Great Hunt, which is the second name of the book. So I could see that, okay, but I'm going to assume, and this is pure assumption because I haven't started reading book 2 yet, but I'm going to assume that he steals it in the Great Hunt, because otherwise that was just a very interesting difference. I don't know how much of his difference is going to be, but I definitely know if he does end up being the one that steals it in book 2, then it was just an acceleration of his timeline in terms of that. And also it was just different because he's captured in the book, but he's not captured in the show. And it's established with everyone, like everyone knows that he's, basically evil in or witnesses that he's evil in the book versus in the show. I think it's really Perrin and Loyal who experience and see it because they're fighting him and all that. So there's that, and like the destiny of what's happening to the Horn. So it'll be interesting to see how book 2 handles it and see if the show accelerated that or not. But let's get into Moiraine. The differences in Moiraine, again, I'm like, did they add this, change it, or accelerate it? But basically, Moiraine being cut off with the one power, and again, because she played a more active role in the show and how she fought with who they believed was the Dark One in season 1 of the show. And technically it was Val's but at the end of the fight, at the end of the battle in season 1, she's cut off from the one power. She can't feel it. It's devastating. All of that. She can't wield it. But in the book, she's fine. I mean, she's injured and she's tired. Well, not injured, but like, you know, she's hurt and tired a bit. But otherwise, she still can wield the power. So I'm like, did you make it up? Did you add it? Like, the differences and how that's handled just stood out to me because I'm like, okay, how is this about to progress? And does she ever get cut off? Like, again, the show and how they have either sped up, added things, is just some interesting decisions. And I'm like, okay, did you do it for drama? Did you do it for just to be more poignant? Like, I'm trying to understand. And I'm like, okay, had she not been cut off from the one power in the show, would it have still hit the same? And I really think that, like, because of all of the cliffhangers that happened at the end of season 1, like, it still would have been poignant. But I do see how her being cut off from the one power sets up a lot of things that they did in season 2. But I'm like, I don't know. It was very interesting. So all that to say, all of these diversions and changes in these last couple of chapters, some of them I get, some of them I don't. You know, hindsight's 2020, and you know, I just think a lot of decisions, we'll just say this, I think some of the decisions they made, maybe they brought some stuff from book 2 into season 1 because they needed more cliffhangers to draw you in for dramatic effect in case they got season 2. And then they also made certain decisions because they needed season 1 to be self-containing, so they needed it, yeah, just to be contained in of itself, just in case they didn't get picked up for season 1. I have way more thoughts, but I'm going to save them for my full recap in the whole another video because I feel like I have talked a lot. So what were your thoughts when you got to the end of book 1? Like, did you have some of the same reactions for me? Like, what are things that stuck out to you that maybe I didn't mention? I'd love to have those conversations down in the comment section. And thank you so much for hanging out with me. This was a time. This was a time and an emotional journey, and I really did enjoy just the experience of reading this book and reading it with you. It made it so much more fun and engaging, and just to be able to share all of my thoughts and like reactions with you, it's just been such a pleasure. So thank you for hanging out with me and sticking with me. And if you've made it to this part of the video, welcome to the end of the video, crew. If you have made it to this point, be sure to drop let's do a celebration icon, because we have finished the first book. Put a celebration, like, party, what is that, like, streamer thing in the comment section. I always love to know who's hung out with me to the end of the video, and I am super excited to get into book 2. So be sure to look out for my book 2 vlogs, and if you like this video, be sure to subscribe, like, and hit that bell notification so you don't miss a new video from me. Until the next time, happy reading. Bye, y'all.